Hello, everybody, and welcome to another episode of Raw Talk with Tanta Katie. And I'm very excited about the episode that I will have for you guys today. Just forewarning, there are two dogs in the background in case you hear any barks. It's not just one guest. We actually have four guests today. Two of them are dogs. Today, I have also a very special guest with me. She's my cousin Lori, and our topic for today's podcast is going to be MS. MS is a disease that many people do have and do struggle with. And I do believe that there are a lot of misconceptions about it. And one of the best people to talk about this with is my cousin Lori because she does have MS. And I do believe that by her talking about her experiences with MS and everything that she has gone through, I believe that this can help a lot of people. It can inform a lot of people. And maybe by the end of this episode, people will leave with a lot more knowledge than what they did have before. So, without further ado, I would like to introduce to you my cousin Lori.
Hello, Katie.
Hello, Lori. So happy you're here with me today.
I'm excited. Yes, this is great.
I'm really excited as well.
Good.
So, Lori is actually my cousin, my first cousin. And many people, for some reason, do think she's my aunt because she is a little bit older than me. But
I'm 54, so yes,
okay.
quite a bit older.
So she's 54, I'm 34, so there's a 20-year difference between us. So that is because we had my Aunt Linda, my Aunt Jill, which is Lori's mom, and then my dad. And between Aunt Jill and my dad, I believe there was, what, a 10-year difference between them?
Yeah, something like that.
About a 10-year difference. So that's why. But she is my cousin for all of
Yes.
you guys. And yeah, so let's get started with this. So MS. What is MS? How would you, if somebody asked you what MS is, what would you tell them?
I would tell them that it's multiple sclerosis and you get lesions, which basically can make it so you can walk and not walk. So it depends on what it attacks and where it attacks. My lesions are on my spinal cord. A lot of my lesions are on my spinal cord. I have one or two on my brain, which is good, but still the spinal cord issue means that I could lose my legs. I could not walk. I could not, move around, but it does affect my limbs a lot. So, but it is different for everybody. It's kind of like a snowflake where everyone is different. There are people that are worse off than me. There are people that are doing better than me. So it's different for everybody. There are a lot of similarities. If you go into, a chat on Facebook or whatever certain groups you can talk to, everybody's different. So,
Yeah, I remember the first time I had heard that you had MS, I remember you also saying that it is different for everybody.
yes, yeah.
And it can affect everybody differently. And when was it when you found out you did have MS?
I found out in August of 2001, but it took testing probably from May until August to figure out what exactly it was. I used to be a runner. My dad was a runner growing up. I would watch him run, and I always wanted to be like him, so I would run a couple miles a day. And I noticed that my hands were getting tingly and just very strange. And then I thought maybe I had carpal tunnel. So I went to my doctor, and he said that, take some aspirin, let me know how you feel in a month. Maybe it's, a pinched nerve or something like that. So I came back a month later, and he said, you need to go to a neurologist. And that's when all the testing, I had to do testing for carpal tunnel. And carpal tunnel testing is not fun. For those of you who've had it, you can agree with me. Basically, it's like they take needles and they pinch your nerves and actually cause you to bleed. But my neurologist said it wasn't from, wasn't in my hands. It wasn't carpal tunnel. It had to be something further up on my neck or my brain. And I thought, well, I just got in a car accident and got rear-ended. Maybe that has something to do with it. Maybe I have a pinched nerve or something in my neck. So the testing I did, the carpal tunnel testing, and then that showed up no carpal tunnel. So the doctor said it's up in your neck or your brain. So he did an MRI and he found lesions on my spine, and I believe one on my brain. And he said, it's either cancer or MS. I will let you know in 2 weeks.
Wow.
Yeah. And so I came home and I was devastated. I was looking at my children and, silently crying in the shower and stuff like that, because I didn't know what was going to happen. And I felt sorry for my children. I didn't want to lose them, or I didn't want them to lose me as a mom. And I didn't know what all it entailed. And thinking of having cancer or, MS, both bad things, was very stressful. So after that, they did they did a spinal tap on me, and it came back conclusive for MS. It was for sure MS. So after that process, the doctor gives you 3 different medications that you can take. Go home and you can read up on them and see which one you like. This one you can take every day and you have hardly any side effects. Then this one you take 3 times a week and you have a lot of side effects. Or you take one so I don't know, remember the other option, but I told him right then and there, I'll just choose the one every day because I don't want to have the side effects. So he made me go home and come back probably a month later, and I told him I wanted to do one every day, which was called Copaxone. So I did that, and then I had side effects. It was a needle, so I had to give myself a shot every day in different areas of my body, my thighs, my stomach, and my hips, and my arm. And I remember finally receiving the package of medication, and my husband sat down with me, and he knew I was nervous, and I know he was nervous too. And he's like, we were prepping my leg to put a shot in my leg, and he was just reading the instructions, and he kept reading, and he would get to the point where, now you want to insert the needle, and I was still like shaking. I wouldn't do it, and he was going to the next step. Now you want to clean up, and now
you were still just holding the needle in your hand.
Yeah, and I'm just like, oh, okay, do it. So it wasn't bad. It stung, like maybe a bee sting, and other people have said that too with that medication, because you have to keep it cold. It has to be in the refrigerator.
Okay.
So it hurt, but it was tolerable. And after that, I went and took a hot bath and just kind of cried. And, I didn't know what was going on. It was so new to me. But the good news was my MS wasn't very active at all, so it really wasn't affecting me for years. Um, I even got to the point where the doctor said it was fine for me to be off of medication because
Wow.
nothing's happening. So I tried that for a little bit, and I tried a drug called Procarin, which was an all natural kind of like a this lotion that you put on your leg, and you put this patch over it, a waterproof patch. And I tried that for a while, and I found out after going to my doctor and my neurologist and telling him kind of ventured out and wanted to try this Procarin. I said, I actually feel pretty good. And he goes, that's because it's all it is caffeine. I said,
Oh
oh,
my goodness.
he's like, drink more coffee if you want that, instead of spending, because this was out of pocket expense because it was natural. So it was like $300. So
Per.
per month. Yeah.
Wow. Okay. Yeah, that's a lot.
Yeah. And back then that was a lot
Back
too.
in 2001, that
Yeah.
time, yeah, that is
Yeah.
a lot.
Yeah. So I tried that.
So the first one that you were taking when you
Mhm.
had first found out, what was the name of that one again?
Copaxone.
And what were some of those side effects?
Oh, those side effects. Well, there was one that I found out in a chat room, that it can cause you to have like a flushing situation where your face turns all red and kind of gets hard to breathe. And I knew that that was a possibility before I even took my medication, thank God, because I ended up having that side effect where I felt like I couldn't breathe. And I did my shot in front of my kids to, just to try to make them, no, mom's okay. This is all I have to do. It's pretty simple. But when I had the flushing part, I could barely talk. And they're like, you're turning red. Are you okay? And I would be like, I'm okay. And I
Oh
would like
no.
write it out, and I did fine. I didn't pass out. Some people pass out during situations like that. I knew it would be coming, so I was prepared. Other side effects were, the bee sting feeling. I have indents in my stomach and my upper thigh from the medication. It eats away at your muscle and skin and stuff. So I still have those. That's a side effect. But other than that, I didn't really have any other side effect from it.
Yeah, so I feel like nowadays there are so many diseases, and you're hearing of people having ALS or cancer or diabetes and all these things and MS, and it's a really difficult situation because of course if you have this disease, you want to treat it, get rid of it, whatever you can do, but at the same time these medications have severe and extreme side effects to where it's got to be really difficult and really hard to do more to your body, and your body's already going through so much. And so I definitely have a lot of respect for you that you have
Thank you.
been through all of that with the side effects, and MS alone
Yeah.
is definitely not an easy thing to be going through.
No.
And then everything that comes on top of that with the side effects. So I was going to ask you, which is, so in 2001, that is when you had got the information where the doctor told you it's either going to be MS or it's going to be cancer. What was your, and then you did find out that it was MS. What was like your first reaction to finding out that you had it?
I was in shock. I started Googling everything, which people tell you not to do because there's scary stuff out there, but I'm kind of a logical thinker. I want to know the good stuff, the bad stuff, whatever. Um, I felt people around me getting scared, like my mother. You know, she
Hmm.
said, maybe I have it because she dropped me as a baby. She was trying to take
Oh.
the blame for everything. And like, no, it's not from you. Um, so I would find myself trying to make everybody around me think that everything's fine, you know. So I concentrated more on everybody else than me. I was worried about my kids. Um, you know, any normal feeling if you get, diagnosed with any kind of disease or any ailment. Um, so yeah, I was just more shock and just waiting for the next step and just doing research and stuff like that.
And I think it's good that you were saying that they did have those chat rooms and everything
Yes.
where you could go and maybe talk with people if they could give you advice about what they had done, what to avoid, what not. But you were also saying that every MS is different. So
Right.
it was probably can't rely on
But
everybody else's experience because
but they
yours is so
were
unique, but it was probably really good.
it was good because you got to see people with all different levels of MS. Relapsing, remitting MS is what I have.
Okay.
And that means that I can get a flare up and then it goes away, flare up and goes away. There's also progressive MS, which is where it just keeps progressing and there's nothing you can do about it. Um, that's the heavy one to have. That's the worst that you could have. So yeah.
And in which ways do you feel like so in 2001 is when you kind of got it and then the doctors were saying, you can kind of go off the medication.
Yeah. That was probably 2003 or
2003.
yeah.
And then when would you feel like the MS kind of progressed to where the symptoms started getting stronger?
That was work started getting stressful and trying to take care of my kids, work, come home, make dinner, do all that stuff was just, it started to get really stressful. Um, I had a job as a bank manager and I was responsible for my employees and taking care of them and making sure everything was running, good at the bank, which I loved. I lived off of that um, stress level. I liked it. I thrived at work. I loved it. But the stress was not good, and I had stress from my mom passing in 2007 and that's when it started getting worse. Um, and it just progressively, over the years, I've had it for 23 years. So I'm glad it hasn't progressed, even more. I'm lucky
Yeah.
to be where I'm at right now. Um, but yeah, after my mom passed away, it did get bad. And then I had stress at work where um, I lost my job and lost my 401k, and lost, a bunch of stuff. Um, so there was a lot of stress in my life during 2007. And then my brother had come up from California and was helping me with my mom. And shortly afterwards, he found out he had cancer. So that was another stressful time because
Yeah.
my boss let me take time off work to go take my brother to Seattle. But I had to go to work in the morning. And then in the afternoon, I would leave and take my brother to radiation. And then I would come back and I had to do volunteer work at night. So I would um, do various charity events and things like that, getting involved in the community. But it just wore me down. I still have my family to take care of and all that. So then it started getting progressively worse then. But um, they ended up changing my medication during this time frame, like probably in 2007, they changed it to another medication. And that was another shot I had to do. And that I had an allergic reaction to that immediately. I couldn't even give myself the shot. It was so horribly painful to give. So finally, after years of waiting for a pill instead of a shot, giving yourself a shot, a needle, which was subcutaneous, which means it's not going into your muscle. It just goes on the surface of your skin. But I tried that and that didn't work. I had a horrible reaction. So finally, after so many years of waiting, they came out with a pill for MS.
Okay.
That's called Gilenya, which I took for quite a while. And unfortunately, it ended up where I got another lesion. When you get another lesion, your neurologist will change your medication and say, hey, we can't afford for this to happen again. We can't afford to, you getting any more lesions, so we need to change your medication. So that's when I went back to the shots. But this time we had a shot where I only had to do it every 6 months. I could do one a year or I can do every 6 months. And I chose every 6 months because I looked at the type of medication and I thought, this will be fine. This will work for me. So I'm still taking that medicine to this day, which is an infusion that has some chemo in it. It's not normal chemo for cancer patients, but it is a type of chemo. So with that, I had a lot of side effects as far as my body. My joints ache. Everywhere my body hurts. And that happens right after my infusion where I get pretty bad. I usually am down for about 2 weeks in bed. Now it's only like a week that I'm pretty much down and out, which is good. But the medicine, the side effect of the medicine is the pain that I get.
So with the lesions that you were talking about, is there any way to predict when a lesion will happen?
No.
It just kind of is one of those things where you keep an eye on it.
The medication's supposed to keep it at bay.
Okay.
It's supposed to help. But yeah, it could happen at any time and I wouldn't know. Or the lesions I do have can get activated and cause a lot of symptoms to come out.
How do you know if you got one? Like, do you just go in for the checkups and then the doctor tells you?
My doctor had me, what they do is they keep an eye on your blood work. You do blood work and then also MRIs. I have to do those. It was every 6 months and now it's once a year. And I go into a machine for probably, I have to go twice. One time is probably 2 hours. And the other one is probably 3 hours that I am in there. And they, I go into a MRI machine that takes you down a tube and you just hear a lot of banging noises and all these weird noises, and it's scanning your brain and your spinal cord. So I do that, and that's how they, check to see if anything new is there. You also could get a lesion, and you might notice you have this new symptom that's coming on, and it could be that you have a new lesion. It depends on how long that lasts. One thing you want to do is make sure you're paying attention to your body and, if anything unusual from your normal side effects comes up, you want to wait and see how long that lasts. And it could just be, like I said, your regular lesions getting activated, or it could be a new one. You don't know until you take that MRI test.
Wow.
And when I do go to the doctor, she tests all my feet, everything. She tests my hands to see how I'm doing. My hands are numb, um, and uh, my feet are pretty much numb. And it's I get like all these different side effects from MS that are not from the medication. It's just my MS. It does it every once in a while. And that's when I know I have to calm down, lay down, relax, take it easy.
So it's probably really hard because it's not only the side effects of the MS, but then you also have the side effects of the medication.
Exactly.
And then, it can be really hard to deal with. In case you guys do hear a little humming background noise in the back, it's just one of the dogs snoring, okay? Just to explain that. She's having a little sleep. Her name's Aspen and she's a little tired. Oh, now she's awake. I think I woke her up, but she'll go back to bed. So just a little nice background noise there. I can imagine that would be like really hard. What do you feel like are the most common misconceptions about MS?
The biggest misconception I feel is it's not something that you could see physically on a person. It's all internalized. So people, you could be having a bad day and people wouldn't even notice because they don't see anything wrong with you. They don't see a bandage or anything. So that's the biggest misconception. Also, they might think that you're drunk or something because your walking is off. Your head gets a little dizzy when you stand up sometimes, or if I'm standing and I turn my head to somebody really quick, I have to be really careful with that because I've fallen down my stairs, I've fallen on cement, I've fallen, in my yard.
Yeah, I mean, I know about MS because of you,
Mm-hmm.
but if I wouldn't know you, I don't know that I would have any information about it
Yeah.
or any experience or knowledge. And I remember Lori and I had a moment once when we were going to Target and just walking in the parking lot, and she was walking a little bit wobbly, but obviously I didn't think anything of it. For me, it's okay, no problem, no worries. And then you do see looks, you do get stares. So then we had gone to Starbucks afterwards, and she had gotten out her wallet, and maybe she was a little shaky, so it took her a little more time to get the wallet. And she had felt so bad, because she was so considerate of the other people, that she had bought everybody in the line a Starbucks because she felt very bad, like, oh, the people must think I'm this and that. And so this is a public service announcement to everybody out there. Have more empathy for people in general, no matter where you are. If you see somebody, maybe they're walking a little bit different or however, or if they fall, don't automatically assume that that person is drinking or on drugs. And maybe even first go to help them if you see somebody fall and they are alone, because you do not know. There are a lot of people around the world, but especially right now in the US, who do need a lot of help when it comes to their health. And try not to be so judgmental. And it is true, like Lori was saying with MS, is you can't see it. It's not like she has a cast. It's not like she has this big band-aid or that. So just be a little more cautious of that. I think that is something we all can learn from. Many people do have MS in all stages. Not everybody does feel comfortable talking about it, but just keep that in mind. I think that's really important.
Yes.
And what do you feel like is the hardest part about having MS? Like if you could describe to somebody what it feels like or the symptoms, What would be your best description, even though I'm probably sure it's not an easy thing to describe?
It's not. It's my MS. I feel like I'm a voodoo doll or something. Somebody has me as a doll, and they're taking a needle and sticking it in my arm, and I'll get like a sharp pain, like a knife, cutting you. I get dull pains in my joints. Um, it's it's hard to describe all the pain that you get. Lately, I've been getting an MS hug, what they call an MS hug, and that's where your chest tightens. And I kind of have to just lay down with that because every time I get up, you could just feel the stress on your chest. It just tightens, and it just makes it hard to walk. I kind of have to sit down. So I've been getting those lately. Um, but
Yeah, it's probably one of those things where it's indescribable.
yeah, it's hard to describe, and even like my talking sometimes gets off. Um, my handwriting is off sometimes. But it's my hands and my feet are both numb, so I can't really feel heat a lot. So anyway, that's basically it. Sometimes I get um, these really weird pains in my feet. Um, I get pains that go down my leg. They're usually dull. Sometimes I get really sharp pains. Um, but the best way for me to describe it is basically you get these sharp stabbing pains. You can get dull pains. Um, and it's usually my neck area. I get migraines easy. Um, my limbs. I have a one leg that has shrunk in size. Um, and I'm doing physical therapy for that. But I'm trying to get that better so I can at least keep my walking. That's my, big goal is to make sure, I don't lose my ability to walk. So it's kind of tough because in life, I'm at the age where I want to travel, which I should have done when I was young, like you, Katie. But I, want to travel and do things, but I can't walk that far. So it makes it difficult um, sometimes.
Yeah, I can see it. And if you were to, if somebody were to come to you today, maybe let's say it's somebody who's maybe 25, 30 years old, and they come to you and they say, I just found out that I do have MS, or if somebody has MS, what do you feel like you would tell that the best advice you could give that person if they just find out that they do have MS? What would be your best advice?
First, I would tell them that you're going to be okay. It's not. It's not the end of you. It's something that you'll have to live with, but something that is tolerable. And just do a lot of praying. Um, make sure you're exercising. Make sure you're eating right. Things like that. But it is something that is tolerable, and you can make it. You know. And I would probably keep in contact with them and make sure, kind of give them step by step, but this is going to happen. This is what, they need to do next. And this is the MRI. And this is, what you do in an MRI. And just give them advice and make them feel and know that they're going to be okay. Because I think the most important part of MS when you first get it is you're thinking, what on earth is this? Am I going to be okay? Is it really bad? How do I prevent it from getting bad? You have all these questions in your mind, and you just need to know 100% you're going to be all right. So
That is really good advice.
And one other thing I wanted to say is that advice to your friends for people with MS, oftentimes we feel good, and 2 hours later we feel horrible. We're having muscle spasms, or we're getting that stabbing pain in our leg, or whatever, and we have to cancel plans with our friends, and it gets consistent. It's really hard for your friends to even want to call you to do anything anymore because you always are sick, or you're canceling at the last minute. So that's hard for a person with any disease that is, something that you might have to cancel plans with somebody. Um, don't forget them. Just please always remember to try and include them. They don't want their disease. They want to be with you. They want to have fun with you. And it gets really sad and depressing when you're not part of the little group you used to be a part of, and you're kind of, just forgotten about. If there's anything that you could do to help a person with MS, is be their friend consistently. Ask them to do things, give them the option. Say, we're going to do this on Tuesday. Do you feel up for it? And you could say, yes, I feel up for it, but we'll talk on Tuesday and I'll let you know if I can go or not. So, anyway, that's a huge thing for people with MS, is being left out.
Yeah, and I think that is something that's important for the friends to remember, that if you do have a friend with MS, nobody wishes to have any disease, but nobody wishes to have MS. And if my cousin is maybe in pain, who wants to go out when they have pain? Or maybe she's taking a certain medication where it says no drinking, so maybe going out to a wine bar doesn't sound like the most fun. So try and keep these things in mind, try and be cautious and have empathy for other people. I think that's a really
That's a
important
huge
thing.
word, empathy. And that's what I taught my kids growing up, is have empathy for other people. If that lady, cuts in line in front of you, have empathy. Maybe she has to get out of the store quickly, or if somebody cuts you off, or when you're driving, have empathy. Maybe their loved ones in the hospital and they're trying to get there. So I tell my kids to always have empathy, and I think that's a excellent word to use, is for the world to have empathy on other people.
Definitely. And if somebody listening to this, maybe they just found out that their loved one or maybe their family member has MS and they are, unsure about how to be there, what do you feel like? What's the advice you would give that person to be there for their family member in general? What's the best way to support somebody with MS if you're like a family member?
Well, first you have to move back to the States from Germany. That would be an excellent way to help your cousin. No.
Aw.
I think just, having these talks and, finding it out, any disease is difficult for people to understand because, they don't have it. So they have to do research on it. And a lot of people don't want to do research. So, yeah.
I think that too. Right,
Yeah.
especially nowadays. I've been back in the US for a few weeks now, and I've been hearing about a lot of these things and diseases, and it is hard to keep track with a lot of them,
Yeah.
but it is important to look things up, get informed, spread awareness. It's more common than you think, and it could be that somebody you even know has it and you just have absolutely no idea.
Nobody knew in the bank that I had MS for years.
Really?
Yes. Nobody knew.
Wow.
Customers I see now, they're like, because I walk with a limp now, and they're like, "What's wrong?" I said, "Oh, I have MS. I've had it since 2001." They're like, "You're kidding me. I had no idea."
Wow.
Yeah, so um, that was kind of cool. And I would share with anybody who wanted to know. And that didn't bother me, but yeah, a lot of people didn't realize I had it.
Yeah. I mean, I remember I told a few people, somebody asked how you were, and then I told them you had MS. Nobody had any idea. And I do remember there was also another time where you did get pretty sick. It was a time when we weren't really sure if you were going to make it. And is it also the case that sometimes with MS, if you get a sickness, it might be harder for your body to fight that sickness than maybe
Yes.
another person?
Yes, because your immunity is so low, um, that you can catch diseases really easy. And in 2018, I had caught a intestinal disease, and basically what happened was, um, my husband, I had actually went to go visit your sister in Colorado, my cousin
Oh,
Elizabeth, and I started to get symptoms when I was driving to the airport. I was like, kept veering off the road, and I didn't know what was going on. I thought, I'm not tired. I don't know what's happening. So I went and visited Elizabeth, and then I remember being in line to go home through security, and my kidneys were just killing me. I was in so much pain. I almost like stopped and asked for help. And then I got on the plane, came home, and then on September 11th of 2018, my husband came home and I was passed out in bed. And he's like, "What is going on?" And he thought that I took drugs or something, because I was just all, I couldn't walk. I was all over the place. I was falling asleep. And basically, what it was that he took me in to the hospital. They said it's not drugs. She has a thing called C. diff, which is a horrible disease that anybody can get with utensils, toilets, anything, sinks. Um, anyway, I was in the hospital and I was on my deathbed basically. They didn't know what they were going to do to help me, and they were just losing me. Um, and then finally, one doctor came in and she said, "Get her this medication right now." They got me a certain medication and it started to help turn things around.
wow.
Yeah, but because, your MS is still part of your everyday life, dealing with a new thing is going to make it even worse. So you're going to have more stress on the body, more stress with your MS. But I was in the hospital for like 3 months with that, and it was horrible. I wouldn't wish it on anybody. But yes, because I have MS, I do have to watch like flus, colds, um, anything like that, pneumonia. I have to watch all those things. So I'm pretty much a homebody. But yeah, it was horrible, horrible thing. My husband was there every day with me. I was hallucinating on the medication they gave me, and it was really horrible thing. So
Yeah, I remember hearing about that and just being so scared because being in Germany, you're halfway around the world
right.
and you don't know what's going on, if you're going to be all right. But I do remember just being so happy that you did pull through
Hmm.
because,
Yeah, it was scary.
yeah, I can't
They
even
said that
imagine.
my case was verbatim the definition of what side effects you can have with the disease. I had every single one of the side effects with that disease. And They told me I was the sickest person in the entire hospital.
Wow.
I was the number one sickest person. And that's why I had so many doctors around me, and they were trying to get me to, get me to stay alive, basically.
My goodness.
Yeah.
That is wild.
I remember too, I thought that they wanted me to have surgery, and I either had surgery or I was going to die. And that's what was going on in my head. And I remember telling Summer, I said, I just have to do the surgery. Summer was like, no, you don't want to do the surgery. So I thought Summer wanted me to die. So I just said, okay, that's fine. Okay, I won't do the surgery.
Oh.
And I just laid there like, okay, I'm going to die anytime. So, but it was a very confusing time. The medication I was on, I hallucinated a lot. I thought the
Really?
nurses were out to get me, and it was horrible.
My goodness.
Yeah, it was crazy. But that's over with, thank God. But it did do stuff to my MS, and my MS started getting worse and worse and worse.
Do you feel like you're on a good MS medication now? Are there any
Yes.
side effects to that?
There are side effects to it, and that's joint pain. A lot of it's joint pain and just pain in general. Usually I'm down for a week. I'm in bed. Used to be 2 weeks, now it's a week. So it's good news that it's only a week now. But the medication is working. It's called Ocrevus, and it's on TV all the time. And it's lovely to hear the side effects. May cause cancer, may cause extra limbs to appear. You don't know what it's going to tell you. There's always a new symptom that they say you can get, and I've actually gotten diseases from it.
Really?
Yeah. Yep. So
man.
yeah. So, but it's doing good. It's doing its job. My MRIs are coming back. That nothing bad is going on.
That makes me happy.
Yes, and I don't have any new lesions since I've been taking this medication.
That's really good news.
And that's years. So, yeah.
So it can be a thing where you just go years without the lesions.
Yeah.
And then, or maybe out of the blue, or maybe you just go the whole time without lesions, right? And that's the goal.
Right.
Is to just prevent all those lesions. Are there things people could eat or anything like that? Is it hereditary?
They don't know how you get it. They don't have a cure for it. They've always said that it's not hereditary. I haven't heard that it is. So my mom has never had it. My grandparents haven't had it. I can't think of anybody in the family that has had it or has it. So,
wow.
Yeah.
What do you feel like has been like the biggest thing that MS has taught you throughout these 23 years? What has been like your
just to try to stay upbeat, know you're going to be okay. Have trust in your doctor. If you don't feel comfortable with a doctor, get another one. I've been through a few doctors. I want somebody that's going to advocate for me and, point me in the right direction on what I should do. There's all sorts of different things. There's MS yoga that you can do.
Cool.
That you can stream. The diet, I'm not familiar with a diet that will work. I haven't really looked into that. So I am sure there's something that you can do. I know that inflammation is a huge thing. So you can do an inflammation diet. That's huge when you have MS because everything gets inflamed. So
I didn't know that.
Yeah.
And is there anything that you would like people to know about MS? Anything
Just
that
to
you think is important?
Just to be empathetic to everyone. in life. You don't know what cards they were dealt. You do not know their background. You do not know if they tripped over the rock because they have MS. You don't know these things. Try not to be judgmental, um, and just always try and be there for that person. I have a friend that she's a nurse, and when I had my illnesses, she's always been there for me. Even when I had the illness when I was in the hospital for 3 months, she came in and told the nurses what to do and get this fixed, do that. And she got me all fixed up. And, I just appreciate her. But she's been through everything with me, thick and thin. And that's since 1986. I've had her as a friend. Yeah.
Wow.
And we still go out to this day. If I can't make it, it's fine. We make another date. So
She's a keeper.
she is a keeper. She's like family, really.
Wow.
Yeah. Yeah.
Should we give her a shout out?
Yes, Mary Rasmussen.
Shout out to you, girl.
Yeah,
Shout
she is
out
the
to you.
best. She is the best friend I've ever had. So
She's a keeper.
yeah, she is. We're supposed to go out Saturday.
And
So,
how amazing, because she's been a person that's understanding if you say, "Oh, I can't make it out tonight."
exactly.
She has empathy. She gets it.
Yes, she understands.
Maybe because she has the nurse background. Maybe
Yeah.
she kind of knows
Well, her
that.
sister has MS too.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so she sees it with her sister. She knows what it is because she is a nurse, but she is just a very kind-hearted, wonderful person that would do anything for you. I know when I was in the hospital and can barely lift my head, she gave me a sponge bath,
Oh,
Who does that for you?
wow.
Just the sweetest ever. I'm very thankful for our friendship.
Friends like that, you got to keep near and dear. Shout out to her. So we are going to be wrapping up this podcast here. I'm very happy that we got the chance to do this. Thank you for taking the time to do this with me. I think it's extremely important to spread awareness about MS. I've said it once, I'll say it before. Everybody out there, have more empathy no matter where you are. If you see somebody stumbling, whether it's a parking lot or if you're at the airport, wherever you are, just have a little empathy for that person. Just because you can't see something doesn't mean it's not there. And that's definitely the case for my cousin. She does have MS. She's been through a lot. She had got diagnosed with the MS in 2001. Then she went on to lose her mother. Then she lost her brother. And yet she's still continuing to fight every day, and she's active. She's doing her thing. And that's a hard thing to go through alone, the disease, and then to go through it without your mother and your brother. And if there is a person out there and you need some inspiration, if you're going through a lot, just know there is hope for you. It's never going to be easy, but she's a fighter. She's the definition of a fighter.
Yes.
She keeps fighting. And if you're out there, if you have MS or if you have something else, if you have cancer, ALS, whatever, keep fighting. There's hope. There's a community of people that are there for you. Don't be afraid to reach out and ask for help because people are willing. You may think that you're going through it alone, but you're not. There are people that have gone through it before that have good advice.
Yes.
And thank you so much. I love you. I admire you. So happy we did this.
I am too. I love you too. Thank you. I appreciate it.
Tanta Katie.
Tanta Katie.
So Tanta means aunt. For anybody that's wondering, I'm Aunt Katie.
Yes, it sounds awesome. I love it. I love your podcast.
Thank
They're great.
you. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
So everybody have a good day. And until next time, goodbye.